David with Bolivar Live, and today, once again, we're going to talk TWIA insurance with Chandra, with Aran and Franklin, but she sits on the board of the TWIA insurance, and this week we're going to cover TWIA insurance, what it is. You know, Chandra, I think a lot of people don't understand how it works and what it covers and who needs it. So let's start off with who needs the TWIA insurance, or who's accessible to it.
So the TWIA insurance is a policy it's considered the policy of last resort. It was developed so that people that were having trouble getting policies, especially along the coast or in these high hazard areas, could actually get a policy because a lot of carriers quit riding along the coast. So it was put into effect in order for us to be able to have coverage. So the criteria is you basically have to be in the 14 coastal counties, and then there's a few other little carve out areas in Harris County and some other areas that are eligible as well. But mostly it's the 14 coastal counties, and you have to have been declined from another carrier. So basically, if you try to go to State Farm and say, "Hey, will you write my wind policy?" and they go, "No," well, then you're eligible for TWIA. So they will write your policy. Now, there are a few exceptions to that, and one really can affect the people that are especially in Bolivar is anything that's built in the Cobra area after the grandfather date, which I'm not sure what that date is, but there is an exception. So if you're in a Cobra area, and there are several of them on the peninsula, you could be excluded from being able to get coverage. So
From
that's
TWIA.
from TWIA. That's right. So, but mostly, I mean, it's pretty much everybody along the coastal. Now, the other thing is that if you're required to have flood insurance, you're also required to carry flood insurance. So if you've got TWIA and you're like, I don't really want to carry flood. Well, if you're in an A zone or a V zone, you're going to be required to carry flood insurance as well. So you don't get to pick and choose.
Real quick, you said Cobra, and that's starting to pop up some down here.
Yes.
Like the golf course there.
Yes.
That's a Cobra area.
Correct.
And I think is Biscayne Cobra.
Yes, I
Okay.
a part of it is,
Of
yeah,
it.
and it's yeah,
What
it's
is? Let's just do a quick. What's Cobra?
well, coastal. Oh gosh, don't get me lying. It's the coastal. CO. Don't get me lying, David. Yeah, it's let's see. Hold on. I have a cheat note. Okay, coastal barrier zone. So
Okay.
it's basically it's a little zone that's mostly wetlands, I think, and they end up excluding that. There is a list of what streets and neighborhoods are within that coastal barrier zone, and I can actually send you that information so that we could, let
Yeah.
people know exactly
Okay.
which areas are affected. There structures that are older are fine. They're from that grandfather date, but anything forward of that that was new, I mean, you're kind of building at your own risk, or you're going to have to get a policy, outside of TWIA if you can get it. There are some companies that will write even within the Cobra zone or within the TWIA zone that are not TWIA. Very very few. Sometimes, especially if you build to a fortified construction, you can get some of the bigger carriers like State Farm and Farmers and USAA and some of those guys to write you. Lloyd's will sometimes write you as well, but those
It's
are
funny
pretty
down.
high dollar high dollar
Yeah.
premiums.
It's funny down here because you'll have a V zone or an A zone, and right next to it's a Cobra zone.
Exactly.
And I can't figure that out because,
Well,
man, it's about the same elevation.
what's funny is like when you look at the map of where the V zone and the A zone are, there's this little ditch that kind of separates the V zone and the A zone. I always say, I'm sorry, but I don't think the hurricane knows that the ditch is there. So
Right.
I'm like, I don't like designing those A zone houses that are maybe 100 feet back from the V zone to that criteria, but we do because that we talk to the client and say, hey, I mean, do you really want to build to the A zone criteria? Or do you want to build to the V zone criteria because they are very different?
What do most people say?
It just depends on cost a lot of times. So if
Okay.
it's not going to be a substantial amount of cost, it's
Most of them will build
they're
to the
usually will
V.
go to to go to a little bit better criteria.
Okay. we got off subject a little
Oh, sorry
bit
about
there.
that. Sorry about
No, that was
that.
my fault. So it's a coastal area, is TWIA, and I was talking to an insurance agent, and he said I actually like working with TWIA and the TWIA insurance. He said, David, but you might want to talk about claims. How are claims? Because an insurance agent has to write it,
Right.
but when you go to a claim, you are actually doing the claim with TWIA.
That's correct. So, TWIA does not have offices. Like, they're using your local insurance agent to be their advocate and to take in
Hmm.
applications, and they also can take in claims. Now, you can do the TWIA portal now is really a lot more sophisticated. You can do a lot of things as an end user online now. Without having to have your agent, but the agents still have access to all those resources. But yes, the TWIA, they do. You can file the claim online. You can file it through your agent. It does go back to your agent, which is a good thing because a lot of times, it's gibberish. You don't understand what it means when it comes back to you. So they can really work as an advocate for you to explain and interpret what that findings of TWIA is and really what your obligation is as far as what you have as a deductible, what you're going to be paid for your, and then what are the steps. And so
Yeah.
those agents, work as an extension of TWIA. And that's one of the big things that's coming before the board. We're actually doing a study right now to see, what about agent compensation. And that's a big issue that's coming before the board because some of the board members feel like the agent compensation is too high, and some of the board members feel like the agent compensation is fair. So we're doing a study right now to see, how much work is involved in not only taking applications, renewing applications, filing claims, managing those things, dealing with, customers, because we don't have offices. So we have to pay
Right.
somebody to do that for us.
I know that, if I was using TWIA and had my insurance agent, I would want them involved from a standpoint because the insurance adjusters talk in a different language,
They
and a
do.
lot of homeowners probably don't understand it or can understand it. And the good part about your insurance agent is one, he's making just like any other insurance. Let him interpret it for you and be there so that he can explain it to you. He might suggest a question or something, or if you have a question, he can say, "Well, it's right here. It's just written different." And let your insurance agent help you work through the process of a claim if you have it with TWIA because they understand everything as to where, man, it's hard reading some of those insurance
It is. And
policies,
it's kind of twofold, really, too, because you have not only filing the claim and getting paid for the claim. But what happens if you get into the repairs and it's more than what you thought? Well, how do you file a
Right,
supplemental claim? And how do you get reimbursed for that? And are there things in your policy that you should really be getting reimbursed for that maybe you didn't know to ask for? Maybe
right,
you get some kind of lodging or, some kind of loss of use, or maybe they can help you figure out, hey, well, I didn't have this coverage and I made this claim and I needed it. So maybe on my next policy, I need to maybe
right.
change what my coverage is. So they can really kind of help you figure out not only where you are, what you're eligible for, how to get it, and then how to, make sure you have the best policy going forward.
And we talk about this down here when we're talking real estate. Use a local agent in
Mhm.
real estate that knows the zones, knows the neighborhoods, knows the value of homes. And it's the same way when it comes to insurance. Use an agent that works in the coastal region because if you use an agent from Oklahoma or Dallas, really, they're not going to know everything, probably what to think about down the road for you to make sure you have the coverage. And so that's, I've always said, Dan and I always say on his show, it's not a matter of if you're going to use it, it's just a matter down here of when. When you're on the coast, you're just in that area, you
You
know?
just have to be prepared all the time, and a lot could happen, and a lot changes so
So
fast. I
fast.
mean, overnight, this ocean temperatures are hot, and you could wake up the next morning and you've got a totally different storm. So you just
Well,
have to
and
be prepared.
that's what happened with Ike. They were calling
Mhm.
it down Corpus Rockport area, And so we moved out. I was guiding at the time and moved to Beaumont. You know, I had a house in Katy and a fifth wheel down here and moved it to Beaumont. And at 4:30 the next morning, I got a phone call from someone said, you need to head east now because it's coming into I mean, in 24 hours, it went from I'll be back on Bolivar in 2 days to it was actually a month before I got back to Bolivar,
Right.
and then it was pretty desolate. So, well, you know, Aran and Franklin does a lot, including home engineering, windstorm, home design, properties, drainage, everything. If people want to get hold of you to talk more about they're looking at buying a home or your strong home program, how can they get hold of y'all?
Sure. I mean, we have our phones are answered no matter what office. They roll to all of our different offices, so you can always get us whether there's a storm or not. So our main number is 409-935-5200, or you can reach on our website at Aran Franklin, ARAN Franklin.com.
Cool. Well, we'll be back with some more information on TWIA here over the coming months. We've done 3 shows now, and I've gotten some good response from them. So we're going to, if you have a question on TWIA insurance, make sure you email me at info@BolivarPeninsulaTexas.com or David@CoastalOutdoorsGroup.com. And we'll make sure we get it on one of the shows to answer your question on TWIA insurance, which is, it's a Texas insurance too.
Yeah,
And
it's on Texas.
only in Texas. And most coastal area states have their own form of TWIA, don't they?
They do. Most of them have some kind of state wind pool. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, we're going to head on out. Chandra, thanks for joining us. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.